it's Jordan. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be telling you everything that I read and watched in the month of September. Let's get into the books that I read in September. September was kind of a weird reading month for me because I was so busy at the beginning of September that I wasn't reading a whole lot and I was struggling to finish what I was reading. Then Tower of Dawn came out and I read that in like the span of pretty much a weekend. And then I read another book in the span of a day. So there were a lot of days that I did not read. Then there were days where I did nothing but read, and that's pretty much how I accomplish any reading this month. And the first book I finished was Reign of Serpents by Eleanor Herman. This is the third book in the Blood of Gods and Royals series. It is a historical fantasy novel and also a reimagining of the life of Alexander the Great. It follows him as a teenager and his rise to power. It also has this really unique blend of history and magic. Because Eleanor Herman is a historian, there are a lot of historically accurate events and characters all interwoven with this really awesome fictionalized magic system, and I love the series as a whole, but I felt like this book was struggling. I just felt like there was a lot that was not happening in this book, and then also a lot that did happen, just happened too quickly. So it was like a filler book, but then it also felt super rushed. Like initially when this series was announced, it was announced as being a 6-book series. It was reduced down to 4, so she had this really epic, sprawling 6-book story that she now had to fit into 4 books. So a lot of storylines got wrapped up very quickly in here. Things happened kind of out of nowhere without much pretense. There was a lot of things resolved very quickly, and that just like happened to work out for the characters. But then I also felt like a lot of the book was spent with characters not doing anything or achieving much of anything. I felt like this book struggled a lot between being a filler book, wrapping things up way too quickly to get ready for the finale, and I wish that it would have been expanded upon more. Like, even if she just wrote a longer book, I just was not very impressed with this installment, unfortunately, which is such a sad thing for me to say because I loved the first 2 books. I gave the first 2 books 5 out of 5 stars, and this book I like had a hard time even giving it 3.5 out of 5 stars. The next book that I also finished was Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo, which is the second book in the Six of Crows duology. I listened to the majority of this book on audiobook, and then I read the last maybe 100 or so pages because I was like really wanting to just get it done because it was taking me forever to listen to the audiobook. I was really enjoying it, and they're really well done, and I love the cast of characters, and I love the voices, and I love how it brings like the humor and the interactions between the various characters to life. I'm kind of like mixed on this book. There came a point where I hit a wall. It was like I ran smack dab at like 50 miles an hour into a brick wall. Everything was going really smoothly, and I was really enjoying myself, and I was really enjoying the characters and the setup and the development of this new heist that they were planning. It's not really a heist. I don't know what you would call this book. It was like a really intricate like revenge plot. Our 6 main characters enacted as a result of the ending of Six of Crows, and I was really enjoying it for a majority of the book, but then there just came this point where I was like, I feel like we're dragging our feet. Like it's taking forever for things to happen. Felt like it was moving way too slow for like the action that it had. So many crazy things happening in the book that it shouldn't have felt like I was walking through quicksand. So I don't know if it was the writing style. I don't know if it was having to follow the 6 different viewpoints, and you would see like half of an action scene and then you switch to a different viewpoint, and then you'd go back and you'd see the rest of the action scene, so it felt like very disjointed. The flow of the action was very slow. And action should not be slow. I was also spoiled for the character death in this book thanks to my mom. I was talking to her about a couple of the characters, and she goes, "Oh, isn't that the one who dies at the end?" I don't know, Mom. I haven't finished it yet, but is it? And I was only like maybe halfway through the book, and at that point I was like, why do I even care anymore? I had avoided spoilers for this book for over a year on BookTube and Pinterest and Twitter and Instagram, but my mom ruined it for me because she can't remember character names. Thanks, Mom. I did love seeing the old characters from the Grisha trilogy make a reappearance in here. I was hoping that there was going to be a certain 2 characters make a reappearance. I felt like the way she was setting up Nina's storyline was like a perfect segue into that, and it didn't go there, and I really wanted it to go there. Like it was such a missed opportunity, and I was so bummed about it. I stand by my decision that you definitely need to read the Grisha trilogy before you read Six of Crows. Most definitely before you read Crooked Kingdom, because you're going to be introduced to some characters from Shadow and Bone, and you're going to be like, I don't know who who you are, and I don't know what your purpose here is, and it's just not going to resonate as well with you if you haven't had that backstory. But I feel like I end up giving this a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I rounded it up to 4 stars. So after that, the next book that I just dove right into was Tower of Dawn by Sarah J. Maas, which is the 6th book in the Throne of Glass series. Now, as with every Sarah J. Maas book that's been published, I will do a full 20-minute book talk for this, so don't you worry. I'm not going to say a whole lot about this here, but I will have 20 minutes of video footage for you to watch later. I was not expecting to love it as much as I did. I was not expecting to feel as much as I did. I really, really enjoyed Chaol in the first several books of Throne of Glass. I was like really into the Chaolena ship. I was very sad to see like what happened with Chaol as the books progressed. I felt like he was so redeemed in this book, and this book reminded me why I loved Chaol and why he's such an interesting character and why he's so vital to the Throne of Glass universe, and I just loved him so much. He's a precious baby sin mineral. I just want the best for him, and I also love what Sarah did with Irene's character. She has like a 70-page novella, and what Sarah did with that novella and how she turned it into this is amazing. And I love the way that Sarah approached diversity in this book and representation, and how she approached the structure of the Southern Continent, because in this book we are not in the typical setting that most of Throne of Glass takes place in. Our main crew of characters aren't in this novel. It's a parallel novel to what happens in Empire of Storms. I just love what she did with the culture of the Southern Continent. I don't know if it's good representation for the real life cultures that she pulled from. I hope that we get to see these characters more in the finale. I hope that they don't get dropped or sidelined or put in the background. I really want to see all of these characters again, and I want them to have equal roles to play as much as Aelin in the squad, and I just want these guys to be incorporated into the squad, and I want it to be a mega squad, and I want to see Nesrin's storyline develop more because I love what she did with Nesrin, and I'm so happy with this book. I think this is my second favorite Throne of Glass book, only below Queen of Shadows. And y'all know how much I love me Queen of Shadows. And I'm just so blown away by it because I was not expecting to love it that much. Obviously, after all that gushing, I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. I think it's progressively getting very, very dark in here. I'm sorry. And then the last book that I read in the month of September was Dirty Rowdy Thing by Christina Lauren. These books just have the most wonderful titles, don't they? This is the second book in the Wild Seasons series. This is a companion series of 4 different novels that follow 3 best friends who, after graduating college, decide to go to Las Vegas to celebrate their graduation and meet up with 3 different boys who are on vacation together. And the 6 of them marry each other. Each book follows one of the couples as they sort out what to do about their relationship slash friendship slash marriage after marrying the other after only like 6 hours of knowing each other in Las Vegas. And so on this one, we follow Harlow and Finn, who are 2 characters that just really like to have sex with each other. Don't want anything else from the other aside from that. So they start this like friends with benefits, but they're not really even friends. Obviously, because that doesn't work in real life. It doesn't work in this series either, and things start to kind of change between the 2 of them as their personal lives start to unravel. Having those personal struggles kind of push them together in a way that they aren't expecting and forces them to reevaluate their friendship slash arrangement. I enjoyed Sweet Filthy Boy so much that I had very high expectations going into this, and this one's very different from Sweet Filthy Boy. These 2 have a very, very different sexual relationship than the characters in Sweet Filthy Boy, and I really enjoyed seeing how Christina Lauren was able to write such a different dynamic between 2 characters. Like, it was not just recycled scenes or recycled lines. Really impressed by how just different this relationship was. I ended up really falling in love with these 2 characters. These 2 characters are like so tender and caring. They're both covered in this very prickly, unapproachable outer shell. Like, the bad boy with the sweet center is a very stereotypical trope. But then Harlow, who's the main female character, has that exact same personality. So I really liked seeing the dynamic of 2 characters like that trying to work with each other. This one was also in dual perspectives, which the first book was not. I really liked being in Finn's head and seeing how Finn felt towards Harlow and seeing how Harlow felt towards Finn and then being frustrated because they weren't telling each other, but then you knew and you're just like, just get together. And they're like, but no, we don't like each other. And I'm like, but no, you do. If you like hate to love relationships, this is such a great hate to love relationship. These characters don't like each other initially. They're not friendly. They're very abrasive towards each other. And then they just start to open up and it's just so beautiful. The ending is kind of left in a little bit of a cliffhanger. It implies what happens next, but I don't want implication. I want like a cold hard fact of this is where those characters are going. And so I need to read the next book to know what happens with Harlow and Finn's relationship, because like I think I have an idea, but it's like not confirmed and I need confirmation. So obviously I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars because I freaking adored it. Thank you, Hope, for telling me that I need to read these because I freaking adore them. So that was it. That was the last book that I read in the month of September. Let's go ahead and talk about the movies that I saw this month. So there's only one movie that I saw this month, and it wasn't even a movie I saw in theaters, but I still wanted to talk about it because it is a newer release. I think it still came out this year, and that is The Mummy, the 2017 Mummy. I don't really know. I don't really know. I haven't seen any of the original Mummies, so I feel kind of like an imposter or a poser coming in and watching this, what I've heard is a very shitty reboot of the original. I fell asleep during the climax of this movie. That goes to show one of two things. My attention span is horrendous, or this movie was not that great. I'm not really sure. I just know that there were zombies in this movie and I was not prepared for that because I am freaking terrified of zombies. They're one of like the scariest creatures in my mind. I love Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible, and that's about the only thing that I enjoy watching Tom Cruise in. And so this felt like his character Ethan Hawke from Mission Impossible if Ethan Hawke fought supernatural creatures. And it did not feel like a separate character at all. And also the guy from New Girl, Nick, who is my favorite New Girl character, was in this movie, but he was like a spirit. It was weird. So I don't know if I enjoyed this or not. I don't know if this was good or not. I've been told that it's not very good in comparison to the older ones. It totally set up at the end for a sequel. So we'll see how that goes. That is the only movie that I saw this month. Let's go ahead and talk about the TV shows that I watched. I did watch one documentary on Netflix, and that was Gaga 5'2". Chronicles the time in her life of like right after she ended her engagement with Taylor Kinney? Did I just make that up? Right after that had happened, through the recording and her producing her Joanne album and also her getting the Super Bowl halftime show, and really enjoyed this. It like gave me such an interesting insight to Lady Gaga. Like I didn't know all this about her. There was a lot of clips that had to do with her family and her grandma and her Aunt Joanne, who was the inspiration for this whole new album. And I love Lady Gaga and I love her music. I've been a fan of her since she performed on So You Can Dance in like 2008, and I thought she was so weird. And I didn't even know that she broke her hip on tour. She almost had to have a total hip replacement, and I didn't even know she had injured herself, and how she deals with the chronic pain of that injury, the effects of fame on her and her relationships, and the effects of success at the level that she's gotten. It was very eye-opening. It was a side of fame that you don't see a lot of. I really like seeing the behind the scenes side of it and seeing like what performers go through. And there was this clip of her walking from a hotel door to the curb for her car, and just like the amount of mass hysteria that she had to endure just to get across the sidewalk to the car. And I couldn't imagine having to deal with that every single time you go outside. It was just like a whole very eye-opening experience, and I really, really enjoyed it. So that is it. That is everything that I read and watched in the month of September. Thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, I'll talk to you very soon. Bye!